Today we're going to be covering the latest Phonk remix on the channel, in which I sampled the song Romantic from the classic shonen series Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm really excited to talk about this remix for a couple of reasons. Reason 1, Yu Yu Hakusho is easily one of my top 5 favorite anime series of all time. It's one of the few anime series that, to me personally, has a lot of rewatch value. Reason 2, I mean come on, how can I not sample this? So before we get to the breakdown, make sure to like and subscribe if you like more videos like this. I don't usually use audio clips from TV shows or movies, but I figured it would be a fitting homage to classic late 80s, early 90s music, especially the old school R&B slow jams where the guy at the beginning of every song talks about how they're going to lay it down and take a lot of stuff off, and other suggested content YouTube will probably not allow today. But naked yoga, no problem. So I grabbed the most appropriate quote from the anime, and spoiler warning by the way if you haven't seen the show or read the manga. Actually, I don't even know if it's included in the manga. But anyways, I grabbed the part where Yusuke basically proposes to Keiko right before he takes off to Demon World to participate in the Demon World tournament at the beginning of the Three Kings saga. But yeah, I simply added some reverb with Fruity Convolver, added some delay using Fruity Delay 3, and turned down the knob so some of the delay is subtle, and I had the parametric EQ2 switched on with the radio preset and messed with it a little so that the audio clip would sound a little more vintage, retro, atmospheric, whatever word you can think of that is associated with that smooth old school R&B vibe.
So what?
So by my 18th birthday I'll be back here. I will find a way. I promise you.
With the sample, I sectioned it out in 3 parts. Well, technically 4, but we'll get to that later in the video. The first 29 seconds of the sample were used as the beat's intro. Having said that, I wanted the sample here to be more quiet, so as not to interfere with the audio clip we heard from the show. Plus, I thought it'd be cool to have the sample play in the background while Yusuke proposes to Keiko in the audio clip, basically setting up the scene and setting for the overall mood of the beat. So what I did was apply a parametric EQ2 on the mixer track for the sample, and then create an automation clip of the playlist based off of the band 7 frequency knob from the parametric EQ2. Finally, on the automation clip of the playlist, I dragged down a point to 29% and maintained a second point at 100%, so that it initially sounds murky, but then gradually becomes clearer the closer we get to the beat drop. Here's the kick sample I used. On the mixer, you know how it goes. Cut some of the highs, and I boosted some of the sub and bass frequencies to add more punch, and I removed some frequencies with the 4th band to get rid of a little bit of that boxiness. I added a Fruity Fast Distortion plugin to give the kick more punchiness, and a Fruity Sock Clipper to keep the kick from clipping too much. Here's some kick patterns I made. For the 808s, here's the sample I used. Now here's the patterns I made. Here's the snare samples I used. One has more lower frequencies, while another leans more on the higher frequencies. So I stacked them together and did some EQing for both snares, so that way I can get the best of both worlds. Here's the sample I used for the snare fill, since we are discussing snares at the moment. For the hi-hats, I used this sample. In the envelope settings of the sampler, I dialed down the hold knob by a lot to get a tighter sound. On the mixer, I added a stereo enhancer to widen the sound of the hi-hats and cut out the lows and some mids in the parametric EQ, because we really don't need those frequencies. Here's some of the hi-hat patterns. The break section was pretty fun to make. I wanted the drums to be more jazzy in this part, so I grabbed a rumba drum loop and I cut it off right when it was about to hit the second verse part of the beat. But right before the beat dropped, I threw in the Kamehameha sound effect I grabbed from one of my sound kits. I have to create some build-up, followed by a drum fill I chopped up for timing purposes, and towards the itty-bitty end, a reverse kick, sort of like a cherry on top deal. For the vocals, I used the song Slangin' Rocks by Project Pat, Memphis legend, perfect for Phonk, and I just used an acapella extractor to isolate only the vocals, and then I cut some of the lows and highs and boosted the high-mid frequencies to get that Phonk quality sound, and just added a fruity limiter so the kicks can sidechain to the vocals, and that's pretty much it.
Non-stop, non-stop, on your blocks, slangin' rocks, non-stop, non-stop.
This is the best part of the beat for me personally, and I didn't really need to do much, so yay. So instead of letting the beat end at the same tempo, since I basically copied and pasted the drum patterns I made earlier in the beat, I chose to mess with the tempo and slow it down. Not quite chopped and screwed, since I didn't chop anything during the section, but man, it makes a hell of a difference. It just changes the whole vibe in a good way. Honestly, I was this close to slowing down the tempo for the entire beat because of how good it sounded, but hey, let me know if you guys want a slowed down version of this beat, and I'll be happy to post it. Overall, this is exactly the kind of Phonk beat I've always wanted to make. In terms of Phonk, I lean towards Phonk with jazz samples, so to hear the end result like this, it's pretty satisfying. More satisfying than smelling freshly cut grass, more satisfying than popping bubble wrap, more satisfying than subscribing to this channel to get more breakdowns like these. But for real, I do want you to subscribe to this channel.